Hello, welcome. It's UK Cowboys TV, Season 1, Episode 25. And with us, we have the return of Richard Jones. He's back off his, I'm going to say maternity. I'm going to go with maternity leave.
Why no? It's paternity.
No, maternity.
First clap, there you go.
Yeah, you're like a girl, so it's maternity. We've got Graham with us, and we have a special guest with us. We've got Brandon with us from Cowboys Y'all. If you haven't seen his page or follow it, make sure you do. It is worth a barrel of laughs. Got a question for you, though, right, Brandon? Where did Dale come from?
Where did Dale? You know, I was sitting around, like, all right, so I had ordered a mullet wig off of Amazon.
Yeah.
For the sole purpose of, I wanted a new shotgun, and my wife was just like, if you cut the grass in a pair of short shorts with a mullet wig on and no shirt and cut the entire yard, which takes like 2 hours in my house. She's like, and let me film you on Facebook Live at the same time. She's just like, then I will get you that as a gift. And I was like, okay. So I went ahead and ordered it. It came in. I decided not to do that. But I just put it on one day and I was just like, I'm going to make a funny video with this. And I was just like, what's kind of a hickish sounding name? And I was like, the first thing that kind of just came to mind was Dale. And I was like, Cowboy Dale. And I just rolled with it, and a bunch of friends laughed, and they're like, hey, man, you should keep doing that. So I did a couple more, and then it just kind of escalated. And over the period of maybe 3 months, I was up, 1,300 followers or so. And I was like, okay, let's keep doing it.
That's it, yeah. One of the things I was going to say, you sort of just exploded out of the block with it. And
really fast, yeah.
People respond to humor, mate. People respond to humor. But one of the things we're going to be talking about today is not just about yourself, Cowboys Y'all. We're going to be talking also about the Cowboys win against the Lions in Ford Field this weekend, 35-27, beating a team really that they had to win this game. Is quite important. There were, of course, a few injuries in that game, but before I announce them, I'm going to say the biggest injury of the week is Brian Broaddus today, announcing that he is no longer going to be part of Cowboys.com. He's not just a big fan over here in UK Cowboys across the world, and he's also probably one of our biggest fans as well. Coming on the show multiple times. He is going to be missed. Now, we will get in contact with him. We'll give you all updates as we talk to him. But for now, we're just leaving him to give him his space and time. But in terms of the Cowboys injuries, we did have a couple, namely the two that have bled on into the week. One is our right tackle, Lyle Collins, with an MCL sprain, and cornerback Anthony Brown with a tricep. We did have a couple of other players that went out during the game, but they came back. But any of those, the two, Lyle Collins or Anthony Brown, we'll start with you, Brandon. Do any of those injuries concern you at all?
Well, of course, Lyle Collins concerned me like right away because he's been balling all year, man. And I thought it was going to be a little worse than it might be. Hopefully that's still the case. But I think I read that he, went to the locker room with the team. He didn't leave early or nothing like that. So hopefully that's a good sign. But yeah, that one concerned me more than the Anthony Brown. DeMarcus Lawrence, was he on the injury report maybe too?
He went to the concussion protocol.
Yeah.
But he literally came back within a couple of plays, so he's obviously fine there. But for you guys, Graham and Rich, either of those concern you, or are you exactly the same? It's more just Lyle Collins over the other Anthony Brown.
Go on, Graham.
Yeah, Collins. Cameron Fleming scares me a little bit, particularly at the tackle position.
Yeah.
So in the case of next man up, you kind of want Collins back in as soon as possible. You're going to be managing injuries at this stage of the season, and I just hope that none of them are too serious.
Yeah. Yeah. You the same there, Rich?
Pretty much, yeah. It was a case of hold your breath when you know who went in. Lyle. I'm glad it was when he first went down. He was really, really holding face guard of his helmet quite a lot, and I was like, "Oh, this looks bad." But thankfully, afterwards, like you said, everything seemed to be relatively calm. By all accounts, I mean, not that it's any sort of great medical, technical knowledge, but Garrett was like, "Yeah, he looked fine. I think he's going to play next week." It's like vague as anything. But yeah, it's generally things seem to be okay. Touch wood. Just gotta wait and see. It's like they say, it's the annoying thing of it's day by day. But with an injury like that, it really is. You just gotta wait and see how things go. I reckon they'll have him ready for the weekend. They can't afford to have Cam Fleming in. But again, this goes back to what I said before I went on maternity. They don't have the depth there on the line that they should have. They don't have the quality depth, and they need to start addressing it. And hopefully, now, given that he's so young, they'll start doing that, because not only are they having injuries with the older guys, they're having this now with Lyle as well. This is something, as you said, that's carried over. It's a soft tissue injury. It's carried on and on and on, and it'll continue to. This is going to be one of those things he'll fight throughout the whole season, and then he'll probably get addressed in the off season. Okay. Hopefully Anthony Brown will be okay. Let's wait and see what happens, really. But Lyle is the main one.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all on the same line. But let's get into the offense. Start with a bit of something fun here. Offensive MVP. I think we're all going to be aiming for the same guy here. Brandon, who is your? Yeah, there we go. He's giving it all away here. Yes. So you're going with Dak Prescott?
Yeah. If I could give it to two people, I would just pair him together with Gallup. Yeah. But when it comes down to one, I have to give the edge to Dak. Man, he just definitely, man. I mean, Tavon Austin helped us out on one, and there was another that was very close, but still, man, he just took over the game. He's playing at the MVP caliber level, in my opinion, man. If he can do it next week against the Patriots, then that's the point where I put him in the conversation. If he can do that against the Patriots, we know what he did on Sunday, then that's when I start looking at him and maybe that conversation.
He's definitely one of the guys who's tottering on the edge of the MVP conversation. I mean, just to give you a sort of insight, just his last 3 games, he's gone for, where are we? 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. But he's on 3,221 yards for the season. 1,098 of those yards were in the last 3 games.
Yeah, that's killer, dude.
He is bossing it. But all right, great. Who's your offensive MVP?
You can't look past Dak Prescott. Just with a special mention to Michael Gallup. I think he, for your second receiver to have 148 yards and some particularly good catches, they tend to look. I think they took care of Cooper. For Gallup to step in and be the kind of second threat. Not to mention Randall Cobb, 115 yards as well. I mean, that showed you what kind of day Dak had. But you'd be crazy to look past Dak Prescott for the MVP, because he was fantastic. So good. Particularly when we went behind. It didn't look flustered at all. I think he's taking care of the ball a lot better nowadays. And, if he needs to run, he will do. Rather than throwing it to somebody in a Lions jersey, you take off and run.
He picked up a first down, quite an important one. So, I totally agree.
The hip twist, man.
As they say, loose hips sink ships. So that's what I'm going with.
Sorry.
Are you going with the same guy? Is it a complete clean sweep, Rich, with you, and you picking Dak as well?
It has to be. With the game, the guy had 444 yards. How can you not pick him? like Graham said, honourable mention obviously to Gallup. Gallup basically played the game we all knew he was capable of, and he should have played against the Jets. The exact situation, Cooper's out / being limited, needed him to step up there. He didn't last time. He did it this time. So I think he's exercised a few demons because of that one. As you said, Cobb as well. But another honourable mention to Tony Pollard as well. So it was a similar situation from the running back side of things. Zeke was kept out, or just wasn't out. Changed attack with Pollard in. There is obviously a big change. People obviously don't see him as big a threat, and that gave us a lot more options in the running game and the run pass option. Then afterwards, when he was in, they didn't lose a step. If anything, they gained it when he was in, purely because of that.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I mean, we'll jump a little bit over for what I've, the sort of questions we laid out. So we'll go straight to the Pollard part there, because you mentioned him. Now, it's something, it's something that I mean, I know we've mentioned it on the show many times. I think many people have. There he is.
I've been a Pollard guy since before the draft, man. I like Memphis, Tennessee.
If you watch the show, we mention him literally every week. One of the things we talked about is, why not line him up in the slot? Put him in the slot and move him about. Finally, somebody from the coaching staff must have watched the show and listened to us. They do it. We get the results.
Finally.
But I mean, since you're a big follower of Pollard, Brandon, I mean, do you think he's getting used, particularly in this game, the right way? Is it more of the coaching? Because they have a stubbornness, especially Garrett, very conservative. Do you think this is perhaps him going, well, maybe I need to stop that? And is Pollard now, when you look at him in that game, being used the right way?
Yeah, finally he was. Except for, was it back in, I can't remember, was it week 2 or 3 or something like that? They actually gave him some good touches, and he went over 100 yards, huge average per run. And then after that, he was getting like 1 or 2 touches a game for I don't know how many games in a row, man. He's been highly underutilized this year, in my opinion. And his 4.3 speed, actually, it's funny how I found out about his 4.3 speed, because at the scouting combine, he actually ran a 4.52, and I posted a video on him. It was one of the first videos I ever did, and he actually seen it, and he DM'd me on Twitter. And he was like, man, I ran a 4.3, not a 4.52. He said I had food poisoning at the combine. That's why he ran a 4.5. But at his pro day, he said he ran a 4.34 was his fastest time. And that's blazing, man. Like, we can use that. We can definitely use that. Definitely, they need to keep it going, man. I think letting Zeke have a drive off here and there is good for him, too.
Keep pressing Zeke's tires.
It's not the first time they've done it, but it's definitely a good thing for them to do. And the more they do it, they've shown themselves now that the more they do it, the more touches they give Pollard, and the more chances they give him, he'll put it to good use. He won't go and waste that.
But are you on the Pollard train as well, Gray?
I think you have to be. You have to be. It's going to be tough for him to get the carries with Zeke being our bell cow. He really is. I mean, I think, especially when you pay him the money that we have, you expect him to be. But if we can get more touches to Pollard and take pressure off of Zeke, take carries off of him, particularly towards the end of the regular season, give him a break, that would be nice to see. But if we have to line him up in the slot, then I'm all for it, because if you can move pieces around and play wishbones and all that kind of stuff, it's only going to open up the playbook, which is good.
Yeah. All right, then. But talking on the flip side of Pollard is also Zeke. I think there's a split decision on Zeke. One side of it is he is a guy, when he's on the field, demands attention. So because of his playability, all the focus goes on him. But Brandon, what do you think, mate? Do you think Zeke is on form? Is it something standing from him, or do you think he needs to do more?
It's such a tough subject, because I'm a huge Zeke fan. when it came up time to draft, or when it was him versus Ramsey in the draft, and all the talk was going on, I wanted Zeke so bad. I still am happy to have Zeke on the team. The 90 million thing does his contract scares me. It does, but I mean, I love having him on the team. With that being said, I don't think he's got the same burst this year. I hate saying that but I don't know what the issue is. One thing I looked up, I marked it on my notes here. I was looking up yards created per game.
Yeah,
which is measured. It's measured on. It's not including anything as far as them just breaking a big run, not being touched. It's every yard they make after breaking a tackle. So where he ranks among all the running backs in the and the yards he's gaining after baiting his first tackle really shocked me. He's averaging 25.3 yards a game in yards created per game. So he's creating 25.3 yards per game. Running backs with more than him is Adrian Peterson, Alvin Kamara, Chris Carson, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Leonard Fournette, Marlon Mack, Nick Chubb, and Saquon Barkley. That's a long list of running backs, for a guy that's getting crazy money at the position.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, he brings a lot of focus. He brings guys down in the box. It gives us more one-on-one coverages and things like that. So, it helps us in that area as well. So
yeah. I mean, but
he's still needed. So.
Definitely. I mean, they were saying in the off season, how important Zeke is to the offense. I mean, things are, I would say, starting to change in terms of focus with how Dak's playing recently. I think, the focus of who's driving the offense is changing. But one of the other ones that's quite important to note is the amount of loaded boxes that Zeke's getting. And in terms of, if you look at that list, I can't remember exactly. I checked before the Lions game, so I don't know how it looks now, but he's like literally right near the very top of the list of the amount of times he faces a loaded box.
I don't doubt
that. But Graham, do you think Zeke needs to do more, or do you think he's on par? Do you think he's doing exactly what we need him to do?
Well, I'm just going to piggyback on what you said there. I said in the pre-game that you've got to pick your poison with the Cowboys offense, and they chose to limit Zeke. And again, Dak comes up with 444 yards. So we're going to get you one way or the other with the majority of teams. So I just wonder what effect the offensive line has had on the running game as well. I don't think it's as dominant, particularly in the passing game. I think Dak had to do a fair amount outside the pocket against the Lions, so I don't know if it's got the same pop that it did. I mean, we talked on the podcast that Zach Martin said that he's having one of his worst spells as a Cowboy, so I don't think it's a coincidence that Zeke numbers tend to fall a little bit when our line dips. But we got the win, and he is up there. He is. I mean, it's a little bit tough for him just now, but like we talked about, if you want to load the box, we're going to pass over the top of you. We've got three quality receivers and a quarterback that can get the ball there, so not all that concerned with it all that much.
Are you concerned, Reg?
No, not in any way, shape, or form. No, not in any way, shape, or form. I know I have a reputation of being probably a massive homer when it comes to Zeke. I think that's fairly well earned. But I think the thing that people need to remember is, first off, Graham's exactly right. I mean, we all know everything on whichever side of the ball. It all starts from the line. It all starts from the lines from in the trenches. Everything works out from there, which is why the Cowboys have done such a good job. And spent so much draft capital a couple of years ago anyway of going in the offensive line, and that's why they were one of the best in football, and they're still up there in the grand scheme of things, even though they've lost the likes of Doug Free and they're injury ridden at the minute, really, on that line. They're still doing pretty damn well. Outside of that, people need to remember a couple of things. First off, like you said, he's facing a lot of loaded boxes because people know what he can do. He was paid handsomely because of what he can do. And if you leave him unchecked, he will bust a move and he'll make you pay, because he did exactly that towards the end of the game when they were blitzing Dak. One of the only times they blitzed, and who got the ball outside? It was Zeke.
Screen pass. We've been needing one of those.
Exactly. And that wasn't even running. That was because obviously his skills as a runner came in after that, but that was a freakish catch. That shows the kind of player Zeke is. If you take your attention off of him, he will make you pay one way or the other, and they made him pay seriously, because that was 7 points in an 8-point game.
Yeah.
It's a massive thing, and the other thing coming on the back of it is, obviously, it's a lot easier to transition into this league as a running back. Typically, that's why draft capital over the past couple of decades isn't used as much, because they can be taken off the shelf, plugged in and played, and you're away. The Cowboys have changed that a bit to a degree over the past couple of years. Running backs and the running game are being valued more and coming more and more into things as we go on. There's been a bit of a shift back towards things. There's been more of a value added to the running game. Quarterback is entirely different. That takes you a good couple of years, as we all know. So now we are seeing Dak coming through and starting to really mature as a quarterback, even though he started really well. Like you said, this offseason has been really good for him. His passing game, this isn't the first time we've seen him have a really good game. But yeah, he's had 444 yards. Like you said, they were covering Zeke all night, and Dak was still able, with the receiving call we got, with lots of weapons. I mean, if Amari Cooper was healthy, he probably would have had 3 100-yard receivers, realistically. he probably would have.
I agree.
He could have. I think more than anything, Amari in this particular game was just used more as a decoy, which is why the others went off so much.
Yeah, he was covered and used as a decoy. I completely agree. But I think people are worrying too much. Obviously, there's a lot of expectation. And ironically, Brian Broaddus is the person that always says it, that people have a problem when they know how much money you make. Because when they know how much money you make, there is an expectation there. And when you're not busting on every play or on every other play, making massive gains, people are going to be pissed off. But they need to look past the obvious stuff and see what else is happening with the team around. Like you said, it draws more people up, it opens up people further back. And the good thing is the Cowboys are capitalizing on that. So not only have they got all these weapons, they're being used properly. Nearly every pundit out there is saying the Cowboys should be doing better than their record is right now. Yeah. And that's completely accurate. I think people need to calm down a little bit. I don't think Zeke's lost anything in any way, shape, or form, really.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Another thing.
In terms of defense, like I said, we'll start with you again, Brandon. Who was your, and this is going to be quite a tricky question to go with our defense, the way it played against the Lions. Who's your defensive MVP for this game?
For me, that would have to be Robert Quinn. He only had 1 sack, but he still had a sack. He had 4 quarterback hits, so he was getting pressure pretty frequently. He was at least getting some pressure out there. Can't do it alone. You need some other guys to step up with him, but I think he stood out the most to me. He had about it was like 3 tackles, a sack, and 4 quarterback hits, and he seemed like he was in the backfield a lot, making the quarterback have to really stay on his toes. So that would be the guy for me.
Yeah. I mean, he seems to always be in the backfield, doesn't he? And making a. I think there was one as well where I think it was Bo Scarborough come into the line, and just out of nowhere he comes back and literally as he's handing the ball off, Quinn's in there tackling the running back. That's some explosiveness. But for you, Gray, who have you got for the defensive MVP? I know you have to think hard on this one for this particular game.
I'm going to go with Jalen Smith on this one. I think the 9 tackles and the tackle for loss. And you'll all remember that one particular hit on Bo Scarborough.
Oh, yes.
He came out of nowhere and lit the guy up.
Yeah.
I think we all felt it.
Oh, yeah.
I think everybody was like, woo!
Yeah.
It was an explosive play. But, I mean, that's something Jalen Smith, as we've always said, he always seems to be that player that when he's back playing forward, he seems to be a lot better player than when he's at the line and they're asking him to play backwards. It's a very strange way. I think maybe perhaps it's just his way of reading the offense, perhaps. I'm not sure.
I can't remember which commentator it was, but they said that possibly Smith and Van der Hesch had been reading some of the stuff that's been said about them. And for him to lay down a marker like that, it's like, okay, I hear you. Let's go and play type idea. Yeah, really good attitude out of Smith.
Yeah. All right. Who's your defensive MVP, Reg?
Quinn. 100%. I was going to say Jalen just to be different then, but you've taken both my guys. So I'm just going to go with it's Quinn. It's nice that we've got like another tank, basically. And what I mean by that is that the drive. There's no snaps off. He's constantly go, 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 go. And it's really, really nice to see. It's nice to have another guy like that on the defensive line.
Yeah, and not forgetting as well, Bennett managed to get back there and get another 2 sacks.
Yeah.
Honourable mention for Bennett. Yeah, since he's come in, he's been impactful as well. I'm really interested to see what he does this weekend.
Going forward, yeah, especially with the way the Patriots are playing. They are, I don't know, did you guys see the Eagles game?
I did, yeah. It's the end
very,
of it.
Very slow, very clunky. And I'm on about the Patriots. The Eagles were even worse. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, there's even people asking questions about Brady, you know? Is he not doing things as quick as he should be? Very clunky game. But I'm going to ask you this question, Brandon, then we'll move on to the other questions for you all. What do you think is the issue with our defense? Where's it going wrong?
It seems to be missed tackles to me. A lot of missed tackles and safety play. That's at least for me, that's the two things that stand. Well, I feel like the safeties are consistently out of position a lot, taking the wrong angles. I feel like we're missing a lot of tackles. And then I see a Awuzie so often, more so than not getting his head turned around. Yeah. Where, he's in a perfect position to make a play on the ball, but he just never gets his head around. Those three things stand out to me with the defense.
Yeah. We mentioned Chidobe Awuzie doing that, that he seems to do the hard part of getting into position, and then, he doesn't do the easier part, which is just get your arm up into the ball. But in terms of the defense, right, I'll start with you, Rich, because I know you're going to have a bit of a rant on this one. How good is this defense? Is it really as good as they say, or is it bad, mediocre? Where do they stand? How do you see this defense?
It's kind of the story of the team for the season, really. They're on paper, and from what we've seen of them previously, what's on tape, they're a lot better than what they've putting out there so far this season.
Okay.
And there's lots of things, like Brandon said, safety play, missed tackles, definitely yes, which is really weird coming out of a Rod Marinelli defense for a start. I really struggle with this one because I don't think it's one thing. I think maybe it is a bit of pressure to perform because they've done it before and there's the expectation there. Things are always harder to do when there's the expectation there. Everyone league-wide was singing the linebacker core praises, and they've not played bad. They've not played terrible, but they've not been great. They've not been the level they were last year. I really, really struggle to put a finger on it. I don't think it's any one thing. Whatever it is, I think it is slowly getting better.
Okay.
And you said about the game last night, that was, there was two teams. That was a defensive slugfest.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Brady per se. I think a lot of other people from watching them go, there was some miscues, there was some mistiming, not necessarily in his side. There was some questionable things he did, but the guy is getting on. I think those sort of things and those sort of comments will creep in anyway, just because of how long he's been around. But there is serious potential for this game to be a shootout because of how well Dak's playing, how well the wide receiver corps is playing, how well Pollard's playing. Before you even look at Zeke, if they stack against Zeke and they stack against Cooper, we could be looking at potentially the same thing again. But that's against a much better defense. But I do think they're good enough, especially Michael Gallup, for a start. And I don't think they'll pay enough attention to Pollard again. But the thing I worry about is the defensive side of the ball, because we've then got to stop Brady and everyone else. So, and I think their defense is better, and I think they'll probably win because of it, in all honesty. But it could be a very interesting Sunday. But I don't know what I don't know exactly what is up with this team defensively. It's weird, and it's been, like I said before, it's been ever since that last game of last season. They just didn't really, to me, rock up. They didn't look like they wanted it as much, and it seems to have rolled over a bit. But it's weird to see people like Van Der Esch having hands on people and not dragging them down by fingertips, not slamming them into the ground just from his fingertips like he was last season. It's weird.
Okay. Graham, bad, good, mediocre defense. Where do you pigeonhole them?
I just wonder if the collective bargaining agreement has a little bit to do with it, because I don't think in terms of tackling, it's not just particularly the Cowboys. I thought the Lions missed a few open tackles. You just wonder if there's less padded practices and less tackling in practice, that can only filter into games. You've seen them before in Hard Knocks and so on. These tackling dummies that are remote control, that's not a player. That a tackling dummy doesn't have a juke that a player can have and all that kind of stuff. If a tackling dummy won't throw his shoulder into you or stiff arm or all that kind of stuff. So I just wonder if the last CBA has something to do with it, because I don't know. I don't see. Like I wouldn't call Van Der Esch as a player that's going to miss a tackle. You saw that particular tackle from Smith. If they could do more of that, that can only be good. I just want another thing. I wonder if our slow start has an effect on the defense, because if we manage to get the start, if we manage to get a 7-10 point lead, the team we're playing is going to go to the pass a little bit more. It knocks them off balance and it makes them more predictable. So while we keep giving teams the head start, it allows them to stay balanced and keep us guessing. So it is a tough one, because there are few coaches in the league I trust more than Rod Marinelli to sort it out. I don't think they know particularly what the problem is, because you would imagine they would have fixed it by now if they did.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things we always see cropping up, and I'll just ask you this, Brandon, and then we'll move on to the next one. One of the things we always see in practice reports as the week comes out is usually the Cowboys report. It's a long list. It's always limited, didn't participate, so on. And then as the week progresses, that list gets shorter. Do you think perhaps because there's always seems to be quite a large group of defensive players on there, especially the stars, do you think that has an effect in the game because they're not practicing together in the week and then that filters into the game?
It's hard to say. I guess it could affect their chemistry a little bit, but it's something they've been doing their whole lives and, practicing and training so many years for. I don't think they would really get out there and not know what they're doing just as well as they would any other time.
Okay.
I can't really pinpoint it, to be honest. One thing this is backpedaling just a little bit, but I noticed our last game, we allowed seven plays exceeding 20 yards. That was a season high for the entire season. And, we should be settling in at this point, and we allowed 7 20-plus yard plays. Had no turnovers.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to lead to. We'll stick with you, Bran. The lack of takeaways. So is that a coaching or a scheme, or is that just that the level of skill that we've got back there not really getting any takeaways, do you think?
I'd have to say it's the level of skill back there. I know Byron Jones is killing it as usual. I mean, he don't force turnovers, but he doesn't allow, he doesn't get a lot of targets his way either. But you look at Chris Richard and what he did with Legion of Boom in Seattle. He obviously, I mean, it's obviously not him if he was able to do what he did with that group. Then again, they had a lot of great players back there. And Rob Marinelli historically has put together some really big, defenses that can really force turnovers.
Yeah.
In his history back in, so I think it's just with who we got back there. We got the issues going on with Awuzie usually where he's getting beat a lot, and our safety play just being very below average. And then Byron Jones, they usually stay away from him.
Yeah. So. I mean, that's the thing. The ironic part is Byron Jones is getting the job done, but he's getting the job done by what he does before like the quarterback's looking his way, because he knows there's no point because he's got him locked down. Do you think perhaps, though, if he allowed a bit more cushion, he'd get the ball more his way and he'd get more production, do you think?
I think he could. I think I'm a big Byron Jones fan. I think if he had more opportunities, but then again, he did start at safety for us in the past and still wasn't forcing turnovers, and that was that playing back there puts you in the position to really force turnovers if you're doing your job. So I guess I don't know what his issue is.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's really tricky because I mean, he's had plenty of opportunities in the time he's been with us to force some turnovers, and it's just not happening.
Yeah. All right. I mean, with these things, I think maybe perhaps there's a bit of conservativeness, the Jason Garrett way. But do you think perhaps, Rich, there anything with the issues? I mean, at the moment, we're at 0. Actually, I think we're on -1 now for takeaways because Zeke had the fumble in the game. But we didn't get it back. So takeaways on the defense, I mean, is that becoming an issue?
Yes and no. I mean, part of it is, I think, like you said, I don't think this defense is geared up both in terms of skill, and I don't think it's what they preach in terms of going out there trying to get interceptions. They're very much prevent, bend, don't break. That's a secondary thing to just making sure they don't get what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a primary focus of this defense to get takeaways. Like, it doesn't seem like it's like a couple of years ago with Jacksonville. They went out there and they were wanting to get sacks. They were, Sacksonville. That was their main thing. They didn't really care about how many points you scored. They just wanted to get to you. That was their main focus. I just think they're geared up completely differently. But also, to ask you guys a question, because I'm actually struggling right now with sleep deprivation. How many guys outside of the line do we have on? How many guys do we have outside the defensive line that are on their second contract?
Byron Jones is coming up, isn't he?
He's still on his first contract.
You what? Sorry.
But he's still on his first contract.
But he's coming up this year. Yeah. Heath.
Good point.
Yeah, Heath. Xavier Woods won't be. Dorian Thompson won't be.
It's Heath.
Yeah, it is.
You've got a very young secondary backfield going on right there. Very young, with the exception of Byron Jones, who, like you said, is now starting to come up to it, and Jeff Heath. But Jeff Heath is not that kind of player. Byron Jones, capable of doing it, but again, I don't think he is that kind of player. He's a very, very good player, but I don't think he is your rack up the interceptions kind of guy.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are young. I mean, yeah, it's very valid criticisms of Awuzie, but he got himself in some good positions and made some good plays last night as well. Mm-hmm. And he's a young guy as well. And like you said, he's 90% there. He's doing all the hard stuff. Arguably, that's a good thing. I mean, a couple of years ago, that was Tank.
Yeah. I mean,
exact situation.
Tank almost left the team.
Whozier
Yeah.
has the talent to be special, man. If he could just get his ball skills down.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is a young guy. Give him some time with the right people, like a Chris Machado, like a Rod Marinelli, and I think it will come. I think it's a bit of a mix on that side of things. People are wanting big step ups quickly, understandably. I think it takes a bit longer than people like, me included. But I think that's probably a bit of what it is. At least no small part. I think it's just a very young secondary, and I don't think, like you guys said, they're geared up necessarily that way. I think it's like Brandon said, it's necessarily a bit of the skills as well.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip you on this one, Graham, but I'm going to go straight to you on this question. We're going to go to the mailbag. Owen is asking, which is something that has popped up before. What can special teams do to be better? Because there's a lot of kick and punt returns coming back our way, and our special teams seem to be leaking. Is there anything in particular we need to do better on special teams?
It's tough on special teams because of the new rules. I mean, there was one particular play. I think it was a punt return from Tavon Austin. And you guys know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah.
He receives the ball.
Oh, crap.
Tavon, you're going the wrong way, Tavon.
Let's go this way. Let's keep running backwards this way.
Yeah.
But it is tough because there's hardly any kick returns anymore. I don't see Tavon Austin as being particularly aggressive or quick as he used to be. He doesn't seem to have that same spark. But again, that's the same reason why he's not a Ram anymore. Again, tackling comes into it. I think.
Yeah.
You expect your defensive guys to be the tacklers, and we're not tackling particularly well in defense. So I don't see why we should tackle particularly well on special teams. To get more punt returns would take an awful lot of pressure off the offense in terms of field position and all that kind of stuff. But it's not a big part of the NFL anymore. I think it's a widespread problem, and they throw so many rules at it to try and cut things down, cut injuries and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just a Cowboy thing; it's an NFL thing. They're taking them out. I don't necessarily know if there's a reduction in injuries, but you're not going to see many punt return sixes or kickoff sixes anymore. I don't think. It's just the way it's going.
I agree. Yeah, I'm totally with you. Anything you want to add to the special teams question there, Brandon? Does it come down to tackling, like he says?
Yeah, and something I've really noticed, I know Jeff Heath catches a lot of stuff at the safety position, but I think he's our best special teamer when it comes to special teams play. And I think it was kind of noticeable not seeing him in there covering on kickoffs and stuff, because he usually does a great job in special teams when he's in there. That's where I like to see him a lot.
He is a good gunner in that term. Yeah. A lot of it is based down to his speed, because he is a fast guy. But we're going to let you have the final question from the mailbag, Brandon, which is from our big fan, our number one fan, Big Ken. He's asking, Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, do we start or play him over Tavon Austin? Either one.
They both got big potential. Devin Smith was, I believe, a second round pick at one point, and it didn't pan out, but he had a great preseason for us. I mean, he looked like there was a lot of potential there. I've seen a lot of potential in him. I actually thought he was going to get more involved throughout the season than he has, because of how good he was looking early on. Cedric Wilson, I think he's got a lot of potential too. I'm not really all the way there yet on him, though. I probably wouldn't put either one of them ahead of Tavon right yet. But if I did, it would be Devin Smith, possibly, at this point.
Yeah.
over Cedric Wilson. But yeah, I think I'll leave Tavon in there. And he didn't make any big plays for us, but man, he did. He had one pass deflection, and that was huge.
Yeah. That was actually something I wrote down. That was quite important in terms of stopping an interception.
Yeah,
good awareness. That's the awareness. That awareness is why I would still leave him ahead of those two. The ability to, think like a defender instead of just I'm overthrown. I'm just gonna let off my route, and jog it out.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I agree with you so much. It was something I wrote down before we got on here. But Rich, how do you see it? Answering Big Ken's question: Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson over Austin, or no?
I'm a bit of a walking contradiction on this one because I completely agree with you. He made a massive play there, and that epitomizes, like so the kind of guy. He didn't come off his route, even though he's beaten. He didn't come off his route. He stayed in there, and he instinctively switched to playing defense and stopped an interception. That's the kind of thing you get from experience, and that's why coaches go for someone that they know. They go for known quantities rather than the younger guys giving them a chance. A lot of the time, you go for what you know.
Yeah.
If I was to give anyone a go, and I would like to see him more, it would be Devin Smith probably over Cedric Wilson. I'd like to see the both of them, but if I had to choose one, it would be him. With that said, and I think they should. I really think they should. But with that said, if it was me and I was making the decision, I'd start Tavon Austin and I wouldn't start the other two.
There we go.
Because you go with your known quantity, and for exactly that reason.
All right, finish this off, Gray. Yes or no? Cedric Wilson, Devin Smith, who seems to be the main one here, over Austin, or are we keeping Austin in?
I did criticise Austin in special teams, but I would still keep him. I would keep him above the other two guys because he seems to have this kind of trick play mentality about him. Like if you said to me, Tavon Austin had one touch of the ball on Sunday, what was it? I would probably say something like an end around. Cuts in front, picks the ball up from somewhere and takes off on the other side of the field. So they still see him as that kind of difference maker. But I agree with Rich. If it's if we're in the 2-minute drill, I'm putting Austin out there. I'm not gonna go with Devin Smith or an alternative. I think experience counts an awful lot, especially when you're 6 points behind with a minute 40 or whatever left. I'm going with Austin.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say I'm with you guys. I'm sticking with Austin. Yeah. But that is it for the post-game show. And we've had fun here with Brandon. I was going to say, give it to us, mate. Just a quick shout out though. Make sure you watch the pre-game show later this week with Lauren. The competition for the free hat has been announced. Congratulations to Craig Cameron. But from us and of course Cowboys Y'all, give it to us, mate.
Ow! That's how Cowboy Dale does it. That's how UK Cowboys fan does it.
Yes.
We're gonna be keeping that soundbite.
If you don't watch UK Cowboys fans, you make about as much sense as titties on a bull, man.
So whatever you do, guys, make sure you go and follow Cowboys Y'all. Make sure you do that. It's been a lot of fun this one. So from myself, Graham, Rich, and of course Brandon / Dale, it's been great fun. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you very much.